Line 702
Health and Wellness.
23 minutes before 12 o'clock, time for our Health and Wellness feature. And today we are focusing on autism. According to data, approximately about 75 million people worldwide live with autism. In fact, in South Africa, autism or the autism spectrum disorder is a growing concern, with estimates suggesting around 1.2 million people have been diagnosed because more people are experiencing it. So there's a need also for greater awareness. When there's greater awareness, there can be early intervention and access to services, particularly in under-resourced areas. So this month is World Autism Awareness Month. So we thought we should focus on this. If maybe you are someone who is on the spectrum, you have been raising or you've raised a child with autism, you can share your experiences with us. What are some of the challenges you faced? Or maybe you've got questions right now for my guest because you're currently raising a child with autism. You can give us a call on 011-883-0702. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. Ilana Gerschlowitz is an autism expert and a marketing director, MD of the Star Academy, joining us on the line. Ilana, thank you so much for making time. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement.
So let's start by maybe defining and explaining to some of our listeners that may not understand that spectrum, autism spectrum disorder. What is it? What do we mean? What are the symptoms when someone has autism?
Thank you so much for having me today, and it's so important to be talking about this diagnosis for April, which is World Autism Awareness Month. Autism is a spectrum diagnosis. On the one end of the spectrum, you have a child or individual who can't speak at all, and on the other end of the spectrum, you have an individual or a child who's high functioning. This end of the spectrum will be struggling with social skills deficits. They may have some eccentricities. But Clement, we really are comparing apples and oranges on the spectrum of autism, and the time has come for a redefinition.
So there's some parents, Ilana, who don't really know what symptoms to look out for. So as soon as they see that the neighbor's child has already started speaking at 2 or at 1 and their child really hasn't, they start thinking, that self-diagnosis, this must be autism. Maybe some advice to parents who are beginning to pick up some signs. What is it that they should look out for, and what's the first thing to do as opposed to make the diagnosis themselves once they pick up that maybe there are some developmental challenges with the child?
For parents raising young children, it's very, very important for them to be in tune with the developmental milestones. Development is meant to happen on time. It was incorrectly believed in South Africa for many years that you can't make a diagnosis of autism before the age of 3. That is incorrect. We can diagnose between the ages of 12 and 18 months. Early intervention is key and sets the stage for a better outcome later. Red flags to autism that your parents and the listeners today should be looking out for is going to be, does a child respond to their name? Do they make eye contact? Do they have imitation? If you clap hands or wave bye-bye, are they imitating you? When the child gets older, a 3-year-old, can they answer questions, or do they have something we call echolalia, where they just repeating the question that you're asking? Is the child developing their language on time? We want at least one-word phrases by 16 months. By 24 months, you definitely want double-word phrases. Is the child walking on their toes, flapping their hands, maybe packing their cars in a line instead of playing with the cars appropriately? So those are red flags to autism in a young developing child.
Okay. And what about some of the misconceptions? Because as part of raising awareness, we have to overcome some of the misconceptions that exist out there around autism.
There are so many misconceptions, but I think the biggest misconception is that it is a superpower. It is not a superpower, unfortunately. It can be an extremely debilitating diagnosis. In a young developing child, Clement, can you imagine a child not being able to speak, not having a voice, not physically? They don't choose to be non-speaking. They are non-verbal. That means they have a physical impediment to speech, So can you imagine not being able to speak and voice yourself and, tell your parents what you want, where you want to go? It's extremely frightening for the parents. It can be extremely debilitating for the parents. So you asked me about the misconceptions. The misconception is that we need to accept something like this. We don't accept diabetes. We don't accept cancer. Why would any parent accept that their child is not developing, and why should any parent give up on their hopes and dreams for their child's future? Now, this is extremely controversial because of the diagnosis, which is a spectrum, and the high-functioning individuals on the spectrum, they can speak and advocate for themselves. Their needs are very different, and I acknowledge and respect them for wanting acceptance and inclusion in the community, and that's valid. However, on the other end of the spectrum, you have these parents of young children and developing teenagers who may have social skills deficits or anxiety, being kicked out of school, and they're fighting for access to services and medical treatments and educational interventions for their children. So the misconception is that we must accept this and they're just born this way. They're not just born this way. The misconception is that it's not a treatable condition. It is a treatable condition. And now, Clement, what I'm telling you is I'm sure there's going to be a lot of callers calling in today. It's very, very controversial. Both ends of the spectrum it's very heated. It's a very heated debate. And I just want to say to those high-functioning autistic individuals, I really do acknowledge you so much for all the challenges that you have overcome in your life. But that does not mean that you can bully or not respect the other end of the spectrum, where there are parents voicing the challenges of raising children on the spectrum.
Yeah, and sometimes those, parents are not, being listened to, because the expectation is, when you are raising those challenges, it's almost like you're seen as you're just complaining and not supporting your child. But you can still love your child, but also be real enough to acknowledge how challenging it's been. And maybe that leads me to the question about the support system. And I'll go to some calls on 011-883-0702. Maybe you are autistic yourself listening to us. Maybe you have a loved one who is. How was it for you? Can you share that experience with us? Or maybe you've got some questions for Ilana. Give us a call or send us a WhatsApp voice note. Can you talk about the support system, Ilana? Support system, yes, for one, the child who is being raised, or someone who's got autism. Sometimes maybe it helps for them to be in an environment where some of them go to special schools, they can see other people that are like them, but also the support system for the parents who are sometimes facing the challenges, worried about the cost of special schools, and they're just feeling, I love my child, yes, but also I'm so exhausted, I'm so stressed, because they want to give them only the best, and sometimes that can be pricey.
Clement, when you have a child who's diagnosed with autism, overnight you have to become a medical expert, an educational specialist overnight, and an expert chef, because often they do well on, certain special diets. And really the challenges of balancing work life and raising children just can become very, very overwhelming. The physical challenges of raising the children, the emotional stress can be very, very draining and can weigh very, very heavily on the families. So I do always say to the extended family, please support the parents raising the child on the spectrum. Maybe granny can offer to babysit so the parents can get a good night's sleep. Maybe the cousins can offer to take the other siblings out on an outing for the day. The family raising the child with autism is not going to emotionally be able to manage maybe arguments in the family that they could manage before. The focus has changed. They're going to breathe and sleep, trying to help this child and trying to, create a good quality of life for them, and they need to find a new normal, and you need to give them the space for that. They need a lot of positivity.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to hate it when people said, I'm so sorry. Like, don't be sorry, just be positive, you know.
Yeah.
And then just quickly, you asked me about the high functioning end of the spectrum. So if they employed, you do want the employer maybe to be ensuring that there is a training for the other employees to understand the high-functioning individual on the spectrum. They maybe also want to just ensure that the environment that the person is working in, sometimes they can have sensory issues, so just think about the lighting and the noise level.
Okay, I'm going to take a break, and then afterwards we go straight to the calls. Zandile, Joseph, or I see you all.
702.
Health and wellness.
9 minutes before 12 o'clock, we go straight to your calls. Now, let's start with you, Zandile in Randburg. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Clement?
Good, Zandile. How are you doing?
I'm all right. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'm a parent of a child who's on the spectrum. He was diagnosed when he was quite young, about 7 or 8. Before that, there was speculation on many other things, that he needed intervention on. Ultimately got diagnosed. And when he was younger, I think it was easy through many interventions to get him the help that he needed. Though he struggled with formal schooling, it only became easier when he was in high school, where he could work independently and suddenly started being a straight A student until university and postgrad. However, dealing with him as an adult with Asperger's, it's a bit of it's not easy. They've got their mind of their own, they've got their way of doing things. And I just want to find out, are there resources where parents can reach out to, to assist with knowledge and information, and also, of course, I can't make decisions for him to go to certain things, but to arm myself to know how to handle certain situations and certain things. Yeah, because it becomes difficult as they grow older.
Yeah, and how old is he now?
He's 25, and also he doesn't take my guidance and advice on anything anymore. So when I tell him how to handle things in the workplace,
I'm an adult.
And I don't think that's working in his favor. So hence I need the support.
Some support. Thank you, Zandile, for calling us. Ilana?
I want to say to Zandile that thank you so much for sharing your story with us. It really is also actually a success story, because he made it through high school and he's employed. Let's just take a moment. You can be so proud of your boy. Like, well done. That's so amazing. I totally understand the challenges that he is now presenting with. We can help him at my organization, and we do work with adults, who have social skills deficits. Zandile was saying, like, he has a mind of his own. They don't always understand shades of grey, perspective taking, intentions of others. Those things can be worked on. We have a wonderful teaching methodology that we use called applied behavior analysis. We have a developmental curriculum that we follow to help the adults with relationship integration, improving their social skills, vocational skills. So we really actually have a whole curriculum, Clement, for older individuals on the spectrum to polish the skills to make them more successful in their personal relationships as well as, in their work environment.
Joseph, you are in Roslyn. Good morning.
Clement.
Hey, Tada.
Good morning. Look. For me, I will sum it up to say the lack of education. I think it's one of the most critical things when you're raising this child. We raised him when, in fact, he was diagnosed at the age of 6, and then before that, we thought he was naughty. We thought because he was jumpy, he couldn't speak because of the speech problem. Only until when the speech therapist at what is considered a normal school advised us to consult, and we went to the professional confirmed that he's got autism. Now we had to shift him from the normal school to the school that caters for the children with special needs, particularly with autism. But I will say three things, Clement, which actually four, which are the challenges: access to schools, medical aid, which lapses sometime around June, because you've got to cater or pay for your speech therapists and other professionals. The other thing is the stigma. The other people, the communities, including the family members, who will not treat him well. Because remember, we're talking about a child who likes his own space, his territory, he's territorial. It's one of the things that the professional said. He's territorial, and then including his siblings. I'm dealing now currently with his siblings, who from time to time, let me use the word harass him, for lack of a better word. And then you have to deal with them. I'm busy now. We are busy now actually talking to the siblings to say, this is his condition. You just have to go slow with him, including his phone. He doesn't share. Such a child doesn't share. So it's three or four things that we need to deal with when you're raising such a child. But he's now 20. The other thing is now he has to do his matric. He failed last year, and it's simply because of now the schools that he has to attend to. There's no school that caters for high school now. I'm talking about. There's no high school that caters for kids of his condition. Now he has to go to a normal school. We don't understand him. Like he only passed one subject last year. Now I'm busy with the department, liaising with the Department of Basic Education to try to accommodate him. It's such an unfortunate thing that in this day and age you have to deal with such kind of things. Where I thought DBE, Department of Basic Education, would have catered for children with such needs.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Joseph and Rosalind, for that. Yeah, Ilana?
I want to say that I also think this boy has just done so well. He started talking and he managed to go to school, even though there have been struggles. I completely agree with his father. We need better access to educational services. We need more training for teachers. We need support for the extended family. These are real challenges that we're going through. Zandile, which was the first caller, actually also asked about support. And for both parents, please join our Facebook. It's called Autism Now What? You can join the Facebook, and there are many parents, who give each other advice. Nothing better than following another parent's advice and getting support.
So Autism Now What? That's on Facebook, right?
Correct. And then, to the parents listening who are feeling burdened by the financial obligation of raising kids, and this father raised a very important point, is that a lot of things are not covered for children on the spectrum under medical aid. So the program that we offer, which is applied behavior analysis, is also not covered under medical aid. And in America, it's covered in every single state. In the UK, there's government funding for the teaching methodology that we offer at the Star Academy. I wrote a book. It's called Saving My Sons, A Journey with Autism, where I document all the challenges that parents face trying to access educational and the right medical interventions for these children. And it's a very, very wide spectrum. The two parents who've called in, they have challenges. And in my case, with my older son, who's 22, he's profoundly autistic, Clement. So I'm not even a parent. I'm more a caregiver. And that also comes with its own challenges. But yeah, we really, really do need so much help for these kids and awareness. And that's why we're talking about that today.
Amazing. Go check out Ilana's book, Saving My Son. Check out this group on Facebook, Autism Now What, for some support. Thank you so much, Ilana, for speaking to us. Really, really, really appreciate your time. I'm going to wrap up with this message from Samu, who says, Clement, on the subject of autism, there's a beautifully wholesome show on Netflix, Love on the Spectrum, and it follows a few neurodivergent individuals looking for love. The show gives insight to how society others people on the spectrum. However, I love how those on the show exhibit so much resilience and they own who they are. I always get inspired. Us neurotypical individuals really take life or connection for granted. I've learned a great deal about one's approach and perspective on life from this show. Thank you for having your guest in this chat. That's Samu in Morningside. So that name of the show on Netflix. Once again, is Love on the Spectrum. It's a minute before 12.